Welcome to our next panel session. I'm Zoe Monk. I'm the managing editor of Boutique Hotelier USA, and I'm delighted to be hosting this session with my very special guest, Jyoti. Welcome.
Thank you, Zoe. Good to be here.
So a little bit of background for those who do not know. Jyoti is CEO and president of a fourth-generation hotelier company and grew up really immersed in the world of hospitality. She was literally raised in the family's hotel in the heart of downtown San Francisco, and she's had a really front row seat to hospitality her entire life. Her extended family immigrated from India to the US in 1952, and after 5 years of hard work in the service industry and savings, they were able to lease their first hotel, which was the Elder Hotel in San Francisco, which the family actually still manages today. So I think hopefully you will admit later that you learned a lot from your mother, that success comes from leading with kindness, respect, and hard work, which really became the driving force for Jyoti when she purchased her first hotel in 1996 and then went on to found Ellis Hospitality. Its name is a celebration to the family's history, so that when they migrated through Ellis Island to the US. Since then, the collection has grown to encompass 6 properties in California and carefully expanding strategically to ensure that the priorities remain over people over profit. So I would say that you wear so many hats. You don't just run hotels, you extend a legacy that was really built by your mother, and now it spans 4 generations and 2 continents. And today she works alongside her mum, her nephews, her spouses, 2 brothers. So it really is a full family affair. So we're going to hopefully dive into that and talk a little bit about the juggles of working with your family so closely. So welcome.
Thank you.
So your experience, you said that you started working in hotels at the age of 9, right? So you hopefully have a really good grasp now on what makes a strong, robust family business. What do you think are the secrets to that?
So I wanted to start off by saying, and I've said this once before and everyone gets a kick out of it, but my mom's water broke and 2 days later I checked into the Elder Hotel and I lived there for 12 years. So that really speaks volume of being raised in and living in a hotel 80% of my life. It's just not until COVID that I actually moved into a home that I've actually had for 20 years, but decided it was the safest place to move in with my father-in-law, my mother-in-law. So we did that. There is no secret sauce. I think what really I would like to share with everybody is that I am from a generation that I've watched my grandparents, granduncle, grandaunt. I've watched my parents do all the hard work, the legwork, the scary stuff, and being part of it by answering phones, waiting in the lobby to see if someone comes, grabbing them around the corner. On the weekends, we worked at the hotel. When I was old enough to work back of the house, I helped my mom with laundry. So we did every single job. And my story is not unique. It's in everybody's stories of working for an entrepreneur, no matter what culture they're from, what background they're from. People have been in the same boat as we did. What's interesting, and I think how we did really well with, is that the reason they were able to buy a hotel is they were able to have their extended family be able to work into the business. So that included my parents, but when we were of age, that included us as well. That included their brothers and their sisters and their aunts and everybody that migrated to America through Ellis Island or through San Francisco and then getting into the same thing. So all of us kind of liked the fact that we were our own bosses, were our own hat, and made the day-to-day decisions without really having to show up to work that didn't belong to them. And I think the secret part of it is that I liked it growing up. I can't say, and we'll get into it a little later, that my children find it sexy enough to kind of want to be in the business yet. So I've challenged my entire family that are responsible running the organization is, what are we going to do to make sure we attract them to the business?
And you made quite a bold decision, didn't you, early on to sort of transition from to a management company away from operations. How did that go down with the family? Did they support you? What informed that decision making?
So I did it without telling them first. So it doesn't cost a lot to create a name, an LLC, and getting all of the corporate documents ready. I could have done it just by myself, but my first 6 clients were going to be my family. Right. So it's taking a mom and pop running of 8 hotels then in 2018 to now having Ellis Hospitality Management Company running and overseeing all of the operations. And I think that once I involved them into the ownership of the management company, things started doing really well. They got a little excited. They're like, "Oh my gosh, we're doing this. We have a great name." And I just felt that I just did it without asking them, and I'm one to say, ask for forgiveness. Just go with the idea, because if you wait around, it's not going to happen. And a lot of you know that this industry is male dominated, especially in my culture. So being the first female to tell 2 brothers that this is and even your husband to do this, I just think it needed to be done that way.
So that must have taken a little bit of restructuring as well within the family business. How did you approach that in terms of defining new roles for family members and, making sure they knew what they were doing?
Yeah. So there was show. I was telling her, showing up to these events is literally a blessing for someone that wants to learn and grow. You get the ability to meet with other like-minded people in your position, people that struggled the same way as you've struggled. So I went to a workshop by another organization, and it was how to develop a management company. I heard 4 incredible people that started with the mom and pop one hotel. That hotel was lost and they rebuilt it again. And then they had 100 in their portfolio. Did I want to be one of those folks that are on stage? Absolutely. What was I needing to do going home? They gave me enough information for me to form it on my own by myself. I think the transition and the hard part of it is developing the team. I had 3 GMs that were just like, they've 12 to 15 years into the company. They were already where they needed to be. The next evolution for them is to look for other employment where they grew, because we didn't have other positions available. So there's a lot of reasons why people create management company, right? One, you want to grow your team. That's something so we created 3 corporate positions. I'm one of the 4 of the corporate positions, and they 3 were able to facilitate that particular part. There's a couple we want to fill in the next 2 years. We're going to keep growing to do that as well. And those other seats are open to other line level employees. So we definitely are developing a career path. And I think that literally motivated me. But what also motivated me was, in order for us to grow ourselves as a family business, we needed infrastructure. We needed something that other people have put in play that have been successful. So we literally have went from a 10 million revenue generating company in the 18 to a 14.5 million generating company, just putting that in place. That growth is what sustains some of the things that we want to do in the future. So you're almost forced to want to do it, right? When you see people walking around the trade show, you're not meeting Jyoti Sarolia. You're meeting Ellis Hospitality. What company are you with? Who are you associated with? That's really big in our industry. So I feel really proud that our family has presence and we're everywhere in the organization. And I thought that 3rd reason was important to do so.
And your mum is still very much top of the food chain, isn't she?
Yeah, I would consider her a chairwoman or a CFO. She doesn't like titles. She continues to work at 7:30 in the morning, all the way up till 2 p.m. every single day in the various roles. And her number one role literally is watching every dime and penny go in and go out.
And what about in terms of challenges and learning curves for your own leadership path? I mean, there must have been a lot that you took from your mum, but also you trying to carve your own path. How do you do that and evolve that?
I think the biggest challenge is some of us are experiencing is we have 4 generations of people in our family, right? You start with my mom. She's a baby boomer. And then you go all the way down to my nieces and nephews of my younger brother, who are Gen Y. So that spans over 4 generations. You're needing to inspire and to motivate and to groom 4 generations of wanting to take over a family business. So that in itself is challenge. But when you employ people, it's the same level of generation. In about 10 years, the alphas will be able to get a job at the age of 16. And then in like 8 years, they'll be able to travel as well. So keeping that in mind in our onboarding, and we're always doing industry research on a lot of that stuff and speaking individually to our employees and our team members. And our team members and our family has definitely been something that has been a focus for us for the last 3 years. And we know it's coming in terms of how to sustain them, how to keep them wanting to work. But a lot of it, and I've said this again, how do we inspire them to want to work? All of you can raise your hand in saying that our workforce is diminishing in this industry. We're not doing a very good job. And definitely COVID didn't help us when we furloughed a lot of people, which we furloughed 0 people during COVID. But we just have to do a lot better in making sure that this is the industry they want to be in.
How do you foster that within the company to create a real family culture amongst other people who are not part of the family as well?
So our vice president of operations is responsible for setting the culture in space. And like you said, people come first, whether you're an employee or you're a family member or a stakeholder or an owner, whoever we report to, we want to make sure they're heard. The lines of communication are there and we're very transparent in them. Some of the things that, we give the guidance and the training to our GMs so they can take care of their team members. We really don't go down to their team members. We really follow the processes that we have in place so they see that happening. The other thing they also see is when we promote a GM into corporate positions, they feel like there has an opportunity for us to be able to excel in a level that they're in currently, but they can be in. So that's a big win for a lot of us when they've seen these 3 people in corporate. But just last week, there was someone that has had issues personally, and we just made that sat down and said that the performance hasn't been there. Went back to their old position with the supervisory role where we're able to bring someone else into that position. If you create a culture and you have a right communication throughout the process, you can literally manage any challenging and difficult decisions you have to make.
And speaking of, challenging decisions you might have to make, what about disagreements? There must be, challenges in terms of conversations that you have to have with family members. How do you navigate that?
It's like marriage. Agree to disagree. That's my husband and my motto. We're gonna not agree on everything. We're gonna agree to disagree and move forward. But I think, when it comes to the disagreement part of it, I don't like to mix business with family, and keeping the 2 separate is very important. And one example I'm going to use is my brother has triplets. 2 of the nephews do work for our company. They're GMs of 2 locations, and one of them lives in close proximity to me and now is the father of 2 kids that are under the age of 2. So when he comes over, he starts immediately going on his frustration. And I and my husband have to be so strong and really say, I love you like my nephew. I want you to love me like your aunt. I want to enjoy the family time. This is no place to speak, but there's proper hours and I want the right team member to be a part of the conversation. They find that challenging to hear. They feel that I'm not listening to them, but it's not about not listening to them. It's literally creating the proper professional fences, because not only are you serving your family, you're also serving the team members that you want to earn the respect of too. So that's how we do it.
Well, and naturally, you have to have time to switch off from the business as well, right? Or is that not a thing for you?
Those that know me know that I'm up at 4 a.m. and then I go to bed at 4 a.m. and I'll wake up at 6 or 7 to show up for that meeting. I don't switch off. I guess living in a hotel, you learn how to switch off while working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't put my winger off. What I do like to do is I'd like to travel around the world. So I travel quite a bit. I also give myself the role and responsibility that's remotely workable. So I am available. I do check emails. I do tell my family, here's my window. This is what I'm going to do. We're taking this train ride. I'm just going to every 15 minutes on the hour, just check while they're sleeping. I also have a family that don't wake up early. So I wake up early, try to do the 5 a.m. club, but definitely at the 6 a.m. mark. But 6 to 9, I do a lot of work. So traveling, Now I'm traveling. I have two adult kids. My daughter's 22, my son's 24. Doing things together we don't do that as much. So I'll go out with my husband, I'll go with my son, I'll go with my daughter, I'll go with my girlfriend. So I have a lot of different ways of spending time and doing a lot of things for me. But I just have to tell you, this also, what we do, sharing our stories, inspiring and meeting folks, that to me is, I think, is doing something for myself, just to inspire people makes me feel good as well, and sharing this space and time and volunteering. So it's all part of the business, but it's still something for yourself.
I feel exhausted just listening to it. So, in terms of different approaches across the generations within the company, so you obviously would have different views and approaches to certain things that you want to implement. So, technology, for example, is it more education piece that you have to try and bring other family members along? How do you prioritize the business decisions in things like that?
We don't look at the family when we're prioritizing technology into our business. If you haven't heard it the last 7 years, technology is here to stay, right? We're not even talking about technology, we're talking about AI. All technology and the platforms you use, whether it's revenue management, guest engagement, all the tools that you need to work with is here to stay. Whether you're from this generation or that generation. Okay, so I'm going to be honest. My mom, she still uses an old cell phone because she likes to hit the round button on the bottom of the iPhone. She's like, you all have nice phones. Why is it so much bigger? I go, Mom, they don't make the little button on the bottom. So if you can't move past the big button, the little button on the bottom, you're going to be stuck with your phone, right? So that's an off for our company. She still literally goes to the bank, calls the bank, looks at every transaction, even though we all have access to her Wells Fargo and her 16 accounts. We see her information in seconds. She just takes 45 minutes to talk to people. So she's an anomaly. But from everybody else, what we're looking at is I am meeting with other CEOs. I am looking at what they're putting into their company. I am sitting on the one-on-one meetings at this particular trade show. What's out there to help me with labor? What's out there to help me with my accounting services? All of that is determined by my team and I. We look at the cost, but we look at what hours it's taking from or other people and how much money it's actually driving. So this technology stuff is actually saving us a lot of money in the long run. We make sure we're comfortable with it and we just teach our managers with it. And most, if not all of them, can implement it quickly. If anybody's late, is literally a little bit me more than anybody. I'm still a paper person. They're all on Google Drive and they can look at everything Google, but I still need to print my invoices or touch my invoices or see my invoices at times. So I'm a work in progress as well, but it's not been an issue. We've been implementing things that's necessary. We don't use family to make those decisions. We look what's good for the business.
And in terms of general evolution of the brand and the business, how do you make sure that it does continue to evolve while still retaining the heritage and the history, that the sort of core family values that it was founded on?
Yeah. So I don't know how many of you wake up in the morning and listen to your favorite news channel or Squat Box or whatever. So you got, the moment you wake up, while you're brushing your teeth or doing, you all do it. So just don't look at me and smile. You all listen to something. So, being mindful of what's happening. Like the first thing I like to hear is where we are in the world. What do people view us as? And it's not just when I go to UK too, I don't know about your parliament, but they are very vocal on TV, very vocal, more so than ours.
Let's not go there.
Yeah. So I'm just saying. So I listen to the news. I look at the economy. What happens in the world really affects ours from a supply chain, from an interest rate. So you got to be very in tune to what's going on. So subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. Subscribe to a podcast if you like. Phone a friend. Ask them what they read or what they So that, and why did you all make the commitment coming here, right? Listening to some of the AI sessions yesterday, there was one this morning as well. Learning the things that you're not familiar with to get yourself familiar with is really important. So I always tell people, show up, right? Tell your owner, tell your management team why it's important for you to come and take back that knowledge and either do some research, follow up, or implement. I think we don't implement enough or we don't research enough, but that has definitely helped me stay in the game. Not my entire team travel. So I already have 3 follow-ups that I'm going to give to my team. One of them is a liability issue that I found a really great solution in a booth that's over there. Just things like that I think is really important.
And the company naturally must have evolved a bit since COVID. I know when we were chatting previously, the challenge of COVID obviously was felt across the whole industry, but how did you find that? How have you changed since then?
Yeah. So we launched in 2018. So 18 and 19, we ran the company together. We had 8 hotels back then. Even in 2020, we had 8. It's the scariest thing when your government says that for 2 months, we're going to shut down your borders. All of us rely on people staying in our hotel. It was the most scariest time and the most challenging time. And I know I've shared this with you. My brother-in-law was diagnosed with mouth cancer in January. In March, he was already through his treatment. I didn't want to miss any of his chemo or radiation. So how do you travel when they said you shouldn't travel, need to only basis? So you saw a travel industry change, you saw an airline industry change, and then you saw us changing and pivoting. But here's the thing, right? When you say, why is it important to be involved? I got onto every AHLA call. Every Friday, your local senator was on a call. Somehow I must have been on that call so much that 2 associations picked me up to be on their board or their GR team. Then I spoke to reporters on why we need help from our government. Then had industry leaders, and I think the president and CEO at that time was talking to our president, which is our then president, now president, and they gave us a lot of resources. And I think that even in a challenging time, one of my best mentor in life gave me advice. I did call him. I said, look, you and your brother had 8 hotels. You went through the 2008 crisis. I had to sell a hotel, which my family says I'm not going to be able to do, just to survive the payroll. What recommendation you give? And just phoning a friend and saying, be positive, be proactive. Positive is getting up in the morning and making sure that you're there for your team and making it through. The second part about being proactive is being on all these calls that every industry had. And that's all I did. When I took my brother in, he's like, what are you doing? I'm on a call. I'm going to put it on speaker. My family got to see balancing, taking care of him, taking him into, I don't know if you had anybody that was sick during COVID, that you couldn't walk them in. He had to walk himself in. He couldn't walk himself out or go in it at all. So it was really hard. But to do that, to have your team do what they did, that year we were only down 19% in revenue. We had 2 hotels in the Bay Area. That market was down 80%. We were only down 30%. But being positive, being proactive, having the best team ever. And I also equated having the management team in play did a big role. I don't know if as a family run business, if we would have survived that, to be honest.
And you mentioned your children are not interested at the moment in going into the business, but you're also very aware of nepotism and favoritism within the business. How do you balance that? How do you approach that?
So I always tell my nephews and my children, we worked, my parents didn't give this to me. Like, no hotel that I own, my family bought it for me. My parents bought it for me. My brothers do have their share, and I think that my parents helped them out a lot. A lot of it was my husband and I working 3 jobs for 3 years and phoning friends and asking for money, and my dad co-signing. But a lot of this, we did it ourselves. I feel a lot more proud that way, and I treat my children with the same mindset. I don't think my brothers do the same thing with their children, but that's okay. I always tell my children, look, I'm not their parent. I'm your parent. What worked for me, I'm going to try to make it work for you because there's more reward in that particular part. Everybody in this audience here, you can buy your own hotel. Not only do we have our family-run business, we have one with a friend in Oregon on another interest. I also work with another company that has over 100 hotels. Even a 1% or a 3% share is minimally cost, but we also have 6 hotels with him as well. So we definitely have diversified. We've definitely inspired other people to actually invest in being hotel owners as well. And I tell my children that there's ways to want to get into this business. In terms of education, my daughter is going to a business administration. She wants to do her MBA. There is a brand CFO that wants to walk her through the path because she wants to be a CFO. And even with the CFO, you have procurement services now that is just very lucrative. I am here to learn from so many people to figure out how to tell my daughter where to go map yourself in terms of education. Yesterday, I spent so many times with so many people that are in charge of the purchasing for their department. Heck, I would want to work for United's procurement team. They do $1 billion worth of transaction a year. So just inspiring people, connecting them. They're mentoring my children as well. They hear me in spaces like this. They give me their cell number. I connect them, and then they're getting excited about it. So only time will tell. And you can't buy time. So I'm just hoping they get excited and want to do something.
And what about the legacy of the group? 10, 20, 30 years time, how would you like it to be remembered?
Two things. I want to continue growing my team members. So the more people I can get to the corporate team and grow that's going to be meaningful for me and my work. The second part of it is to grow our family portfolio. We want to start running maybe not just our portfolio, but just go outside. I'm born and raised in San Francisco. A lot of people have been in the business for 40, 50 years. Their children don't want to be in the business. So I've been having a lot of robust conversations with a lot of the older people. Don't sell your asset. Lease it or let us run it for you. So now we're pivoting towards, we're having the right infrastructure in place. We're going to open up that dialogue. We don't want to go outside of our comfort zone, our state, our cities, our municipalities, and just see if we can help other people sustain a steady income for themselves while maintaining the ownership of it and seeing if we can do what we've done for ourselves for them. So I think that's enough to kind of keep us busy. But the last part, I just want to end it this way. I didn't have to do any of this stuff. I was fine working for somebody, right? But my mom and dad needed help. We bought a lot from 96 to 2002. We went from 1 to 8 hotels in a span of less than 6 years. And I really started liking it. I got rid of a lot of the partnerships that they had because that was my only way of going to work with them. But I feel good that I've taken what they've worked really hard for and maintained that, if not made it better. And I feel really proud that my mom sleeps well at night and that she has someone that, she has all of her children working and helping her bring whatever they worked hard to do. I don't think I've done as hard of a work as they did, but they never expected that of us. That's why they did it. And I don't think our kids are going to do as much as we did, but we're hoping they use a lot more smartness because we didn't go to school or learn what we've done. We've learned it along the way. It's one of those places where you learn the largest skill sets. So those are like my legacies, I think.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we do have some time for some questions. If anyone would like to stick your hand up and ask anything.
Yeah. So how does a management company scale the business? It's a really good question, right? It depends on who you're asking. I'm just 6, so it's easy for me. You ask someone that's 100, we literally have a lot of one-on-ones with people that have gone through the scaling to get ideas. So there is no rule book. There isn't really, you can use a consultant, but they're really expensive. But I think literally having one-on-one with people that have started small and worked their way up. You'd be surprised how many people are out there willing to help you. There's a lot of people that want to hold my hand through that process and really being able to help. So and when I come here, I find the ideas that I think it's going to work. It's my vice president of operations who also has 35 plus years in the business that will tell me yes or no. Why this? I'm just giving you an example with Ecolab, the tablet or the detergent, why or why not? We're like 50-50 in those two ideas. Small decisions, but it's there for every big or small decision that how we sit there and talk about it. But I hope I answered your question. Any other questions? So can you help me?
What would you say would be your biggest words of wisdom for anyone here?
Sorry to hear it. So you got to dream and take risk. I think a lot of people are held back because they don't take risk. This business is all about risk. It's calculated now because you have a lot of benchmarking tools and reports you can read, but you got to take risk and you got to dream. Without those two things, you can't really get your foot in the door. The third part, which I've taught my children because my parents did it for me, surround yourself with like-minded people or people that are smarter than you, because a lot of my learning has come from listening to people that have been incredible in our industry. I'm not kidding you. I can listen to 5 conversations at the same time, 15 feet away, and I take and extrapolate things that are meaningful to me and my growth, and I learn to execute on that. So if you don't have a friend in that industry, find one where you want to go.
Amazing. Thank you. I think that's all we've got time for. So thank you so much. Let's give everyone a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe.